Hey now, and we are live. My name is Justin Lurie, and I am joined by the ARC Specialties CEO, Mr. Dan Allford. And we are here in his Houston, I almost said your office here. We're at his Houston manufacturing plant, and what they do is they design, they fabricate, they assemble, and they program turnkey automation. All right, in other words, that really means is that they design and they build the robots that automate. We hear all the time in the news about robot automation and it's taking jobs. We hear all the time about tariffs, trade, and NAFTA. Dan recently testified in front of the U.S. Congress, and we'll talk in some detail about him. So first, thank you for being here.
Thanks for coming.
Well, glad to be here. All right, we're sitting in front of a giant robot, a robot that automates. Can you explain what this beautiful piece of machinery is behind us?
This robot's actually for export. It's going to Venezuela. What it does is it coats drill pipe with a wear-resistant material so that as they're drilling oil wells, the pipe doesn't wear out. It's an old process. In fact, when I came to Houston in 1979, my first job was in the Hughes Tool Research Laboratory.
Howard Hughes?
Howard Hughes had just passed away, and he was no longer associated with the company, but the rocket plant still existed, and this was one of the processes that we did. Back then, it was much simpler. It was all cam operated, simple machines. This is state of the art. This is robotic version, and it should ship any day.
So what does it do?
That's a welding machine. So the pipe is back there. That's the product that's manufactured with this machine. Then the robot is a welding machine, but it doesn't just apply steel. It applies steel with tungsten carbide. The tungsten carbide's a wear-resistant coating.
Kevin, before you run, can I have you find this video on here for me? I can't find it. See, I always need help. Thank you, Kevin. All right, so it's going to Venezuela. Did they pay in advance?
Yes. All my foreign jobs pay in advance.
What are you taking credit for a deal in Venezuela? Just say, we'll pay you later.
No. It's all U.S. dollars.
When you made the quote, did they have you keep checking the inflation rate between morning, afternoon, and night before you settled on a number?
No. This machine's billed in dollars, sold in dollars, valued in dollars.
Well, I hope they turn around. Last week or 2 weeks ago, when we spoke with John Hoffmeister, he says, I feel bad for any possible soul who would ever try to take the job as CEO of PDVSA. I'm hoping maybe you could turn the country around one machine at a time.
That's my opinion. I think everybody deserves to have a job. Everybody deserves a way to make a living for their family. That's why we ship machines all over the world. We have them in 25 different countries. This isn't the first one that's going to Venezuela.
So you started the company 1983. I was just a young pup then. Well, I'm not a millennial, just a reminder. All right, you started the company in your garage. What was the first thing that you built?
Oddly enough, it was a hot tap at a plutonium plant. Plutonium's kind of dangerous, so you can't use humans to work on this stuff.
Wait, so you had plutonium in your garage?
No, we never did. That's just a vicious rumor. That's,
it's not confirmed.
No, this had to be a remotely operated machine, obviously. It's radioactive. It happened to be 90 foot up a stack, and it was below 0 degrees in the winter. So it was a perfect job for a machine. No human would want this job. And I was only 25. I think if they'd have realized I was 25-year-old in this garage building this machine, there might have been some reservations. But it worked so well that we actually came back and built almost an identical machine for the same customer in the 90s.
So that's your first customer. So when did you go full-time?
Full-time in 90.
So 7 years in the garage. Any advice to an entrepreneur who wants to start their own company, starting in the garage, and has a dream? We're in a 100,000 square foot facility?
Indeed.
60 engineers and staff?
Yes.
You're the dream. What's the advice?
Supportive wife.
Happy wife, happy life. Is my wife watching? She says that to me all the time.
No, seriously, initially money goes out. Eventually money comes in. And while the money's going out, you have to live on something. And fortunately, my wife supported me in this the whole time.
Good for you. Congratulations to her, too. All right. Do you have a specific industry that ARC focuses on?
Not intentionally, but by proximity, we do nothing, we do a great deal of oil field work. Of course, it hasn't been the case over the last few years. with the price of oil down, it encouraged us to diversify. So in the last few years, we've done everything from welding rockets to nuclear valves to some interesting stuff at the national laboratories, plastic extrusion equipment, armored vehicles for the U.S. and such as that, because the oil patch was depressed. But it's coming back now. Our backlog's back up. Life is good.
So when you were in college at U of H, did you think you'd be an entrepreneur?
No, I wasn't so arrogant as to, and I think that's why it's worked. I haven't had any specific goals as to X million or X number of employees. Our goal is to simply do a good job, try to exceed people's expectation, and lo and behold, that's all you have to do. That's why I love this free market system.
All right, so why did you take the risk to start the company? If you didn't have it in your blood, it wasn't this burning desire, what was it?
Sometimes you can't find the job you want, you have to make it. And that's what I do.
That makes sense. I can relate to that. All right, let's talk about automation. There's lots of talk out there that robots kill jobs. I think there's an entire political platform about it. I went to McDonald's a couple weeks ago, and instead of going to the counter, you fill out the iPad. You enter your order right there. Do robots kill jobs?
My favorite example is the agricultural industry. Back in, at the turn of the last century, 1900, over 50% of the people in America worked in agriculture. So fast forward to right now, it's less than 2%. So one of the first automation success stories in the world is agriculture. And yet, do you see anybody complaining about not walking behind a plow? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think this improves quality of life for everyone, both people that are not having to walk behind the plow, and it improves the quality of life of everyone that has a surplus of food. So that's the first example. That's a good one. If you go back before that, the looms were the original automation that was feared. The whole term Luddite came from the people that were destroying the looms because they thought the looms would cost them their jobs. I think looms allow you to have a closet full of clothes instead of a couple of handmade pieces.
That's right. That's right. So we hear recently about, I think it's called cobots. Is that the right term?
Collaborative robots.
Yep, the cobots. It's used in conjunction with the worker. So, for example, I think I seen an article on this a long time ago. There was a bar in, is it New York or is it someplace else? It's probably in Oslo or something. And there's this giant wall of liquors and spirits. And the cobots would go up there, get the perfect amount. I'm sweating here.
Sorry, it's factory.
Yeah, it's a fact. I can see the thermostat. It says 94 from where I can see it right here, and I'm sweating. So sorry if you see that on camera. All right, perfect. Thank you, sir. If you have questions, you have comments, send them in. I'm going to be reading questions to Dan as we go. Thank you, Kevin, for finding that for me. It's like every time we do an episode, it's always that technical failure, me trying to figure out how to read the comments. Okay. It's like, I'm not even a millennial. That's probably it. All right, so the cobot. So it goes up there and it grabs the liquor from 20 feet up, puts it in the glass, and makes the bartender move twice as fast, much greater, what's the right word for it?
Productivity.
Productivity, but there's greater variety, because now they can triple, quadruple the amount of inventory they can, where it's reachable and accessible and quick. You might have had a massive inventory, but the inventory is constantly behind. It might be 50 feet away. Now it's straight up and vertical, and there's not a time waste of going up there, finding, searching, or safety. So that comes back to, what's the real key with robots? Would you say it's finding those repetitive tasks or finding things for shortcuts? What's the key to it?
What we look for is hot, nasty, dirty jobs. You're hot in this factory. This is our world. So we take those jobs that are plutonium, toxic, hot, dangerous. Those are the best jobs. The collaborative robot's a new thing. We're working with Universal Robots out of Denmark right now, and we built the first collaborative welding robot. And the advantage of collaborative robots is if you're working right next to it and it hits you, it doesn't hurt. This robot, a little more dangerous. And so that's the big deal. Plus, they're a little bit easier to program. It just fills another niche. You don't have a tool, you have a toolbox, and that's another tool in our toolbox.
I think the biggest story of robots out there now is Tesla. Well, on top of that, Ford made the 10 millionth Mustang this morning, which I thought was also pretty cool.
Yes.
I think it's been, 50-something years of Mustangs. If they didn't have robots, imagine that. Last week, I took a tour of the Ford Rouge factory floor up in Detroit. You could see how the cars, they were building the F-150. And watch them how they built the F-150. Each little step, it's on a truck is on a sled, and the sled goes from station to station to station. And each little station, they do that one or two tasks. They have the cobots, and they have the big robot that'll help them and insert the piece or whatever. The Tesla.
I don't have any specific information, but for me, it proves that robotics is not easy, and you can't simply buy a dozen robots and replace half your staff, and then buy a dozen more and replace the other half. It's very difficult. Robots are not flexible. They're not adaptive. So human beings are very good at fixing their mistakes. And I think that's what Elon has learned over the last few months is human beings are more adaptable to changing conditions, changing parts.
He had a great line. He said, I'm going to quote him, excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. Humans are underrated. I thought it was pretty funny. Are you following the Tesla saga with the stock price?
Yes.
Yes. If you missed it, Elon sent a tweet yesterday afternoon. It said that Tesla might go private. I mean, he better, and he said, by the way, funding is available or funding is ready, whatever the words
Secured.
were. Secured, yes. If he doesn't have some type of paper trail or some people will come to his defense, I mean, it's going to be just hundreds of billions of dollars worth of lawsuits behind this. I mean, I hope for his sake and for the shareholders' sake that there's some kind of significant paper trail. But going back to the Tesla automation, what do you think they should have done differently?
This, like I said, it's tough business. You have to do your homework. You have to build the systems. That's what we do here is we're turnkey. And so we'll build the system here, and then we'll run it here. And I think when you get in a rush and you skip a few steps, you get failures. I always tell people one of the biggest uses of robots in America is dust collection. People implement them on bad projects or that they don't implement them correctly, and they end up in the back collecting dust. So, his failure is not unique in America. I see it all over the place. It's tough business. That's why I have no competitors here in Houston.
Do people call you and say, we want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with automation? And then you say, no, this probably won't work out. You need less robots.
Frequently. And sometimes they'll even have an older machine that's dedicated, and we'll go in and fix it. Sometimes the old technology works better. We're kind of unique in that we're a welding company, as the name would imply, ARC. So what we found is some of the older welding processes, like submerged arc and such, it's a 100-year-old process. But with motion control, it becomes viable again. So you really have to be an expert in the field. You can't be a roboticist. You have to be someone that knows welding, that can apply robots. You wouldn't want a surgical robot programmed by me, would you?
Probably not.
No, you're not. You need a surgeon.
You need a surgeon. Right? So you have two phases. You have the actual machine itself, and then the scripting of the machine, the automation, the actual movements of it.
Mechanics, electronics, and software. In robotics, you get an A+ or you get an F. There's nothing in between.
There's nothing in between.
Right. In between, there's a tent with a bunch of workers putting together cars.
Now, do you think that the minimum wage affects automation in America?
Certainly. Don't have to look any further than Detroit. I don't have the data, but a majority of the robots in America are in Detroit because of labor costs. And so, businessmen are in it to make a profit. And so if you drive up labor costs, you drive in automation. I don't personally have a problem with that. When I was a kid, one transistor cost $1. And now you can get millions. Is that recession or is that progress? At Walmart, it says called everyday low prices. And that's what you get through efficiency. Automation is efficiency.
MIT, I'll read this one too. MIT said jobs created by automation outnumber those being destroyed, right? And it said in the United Kingdom, according to Deloitte, the UK has created 2.7 million net new jobs in the last 15 years, all because of automation. And the wages are significantly higher, because I would say automation allows people to be more creative, more problem solving, and I would say it's more value add as opposed to the repetitive tasks over and over again. Like you say, farming, who's complaining that they're in a city and not behind the backhoe? Is that what it'd be? No,
Behind the plow.
Behind
the mule.
Behind the mule. All times have changed, right? All right, you want to talk about NAFTA?
No, I got you're giving me a lead in on that. So
Yeah, go ahead. It's your show.
No, it's your show.
It's your show. It's your big night.
So let's talk about that. Here at ARC Specialties,
Mhm.
I'd be a hypocrite if we didn't use robots. So if you were going in the other room, we have robots that are building robots. They're starting to reproduce.
That's the air conditioning room, by the way. That's why we're in here.
So this robot is operated by one of my welders. To him, it's simply another tool. One day he welds manually because some things are better done that way. Other days he welds with the robot. It's just another tool. When I go into a shop and they think that I'm going to cost them jobs, I tell them no. I said, we're competing in a global market. If you want to make 10 times as much as a third world country worker, you have to be 10 times as efficient. I can help.
In other words, you're saying, I'm selling you a new computer. I'm selling you a new laptop. I'm selling you new software. It's about efficiency. It's about productivity. It's not about firing people. Fair deal?
That's the way I do it. It's interesting. I've put machines in China. And while I was doing it, I was kind of surprised. You know, $500,000 machine, and at the wages over there, it would take decades to pay for. I said, why'd you buy this? I said, to compete in a global economy, you must have automatically made parts.
Great segue, by the way. Global economy, talking this. Let's talk tariffs. Tariffs are the name of the game right now. First, give a little context behind it. Do you support we're not in a trade war now. I don't think we're anywhere close to that.
Good to hear.
Do you think that this renegotiation of this wide variety of U.S. tariffs, meaning there are so many tariffs on our exports around the world. I mean, China, massive barriers to entry. The EU, massive barriers to entry. Even Mexico. So, in my point of view, our president is trying to renegotiate to make a more level playing field and have free trade. Do you support, or are you indifferent, or are you not in favor of his aggressive nature trying to fix this imbalance?
There's imbalance, but you have to understand, I'm a free market global guy. You know, I believe that what made America great is our political system and our free market economy. If you want more, you work harder, you study more, you work longer, one of these. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And so I think anything that distorts a free market is a bad thing. I'm talking about subsidies. I don't approve. Tariffs, I don't approve. Yes, I'm affected by it. When I ship to Brazil, 40% tariff on this machine, on a machine like this. That's hard to compete with, but we do. But it's challenging. So I don't want protection personally. In a perfect world, you know, as soon as I'm voted president of the world, there will be no. I'd vote for you. Thank you very much. This is how it all starts.
2 guys in a room.
There'll be no tariffs and no subsidies. Now, obviously, if there's dumping, there needs to be some response to that. And so, but this is a slippery slope, and it's easy for people to forget what we're responding to. So overall, I'd rather see nothing, but then we have to respond to dumping.
But okay, so you want to see nothing. I want to see nothing. A lot of people around America want to see nothing. I would posture that many people are unaware of how many tariffs we have on our exports to other markets. How nearly impossible it is to sell to the 1.2 billion people marketplace of China. China has a very much a closed, let's call it a closed society. They'll take your technology, they'll take your know-how, and they'll sell you their products, but you can't sell them their stuff.
Well, I'm living proof that we can compete in China. I've got a bunch of machines over there.
You could have many more.
Indeed. It would be a whole lot easier without the tariffs in place. So I would personally like that. But you have to understand, we've also had protectionism going here. The pickup you drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's the price of your pickup. Is that higher because of tariffs? I think so. Because you can't import trucks into America without a 25% tariff.
I'm thinking about it. Well, I mean, Toyota, they build here in Texas.
That was the goal, and they've achieved the goal. But it's also artificially inflated the price.
That's true. I would like to eliminate those. I mean, it's when Trump was at the G7 meeting in Canada, and I say this a lot, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but Trudeau was, this is after he made that video of himself falling on the stairs. Trudeau said, "Oh well, you need to lower these tariffs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And Trump said, "Well, why you charge 250% for milk and eggs? Why is it such a huge tariff on our goods?" And Trudeau said, "Oh, we need this because of, X, Y, and Z." And Trump said, "Fine. Why don't we just make everything zero?"
I mean,
we're in there. And that's what his goal is. And I think it's actually a mutual friend of ours talked to President Trump. And so the manufacturer said to at the time we call him the Donald because he was running for Congress. I'm sorry. Said that so many times. He was running for president. And he said to then candidate Trump, he said, "Look, if you eliminate NAFTA, it's going to kill my business. Tariffs are back up to 40%. We do export a tremendous amount to Mexico." And so the Donald said, again, President Trump, he said, "Well, what's the tariff now?" And I forgot what the number he said, but he said 17%, whatever it is. And so Donald looked him right in the eyes and says, "Don't you want it to be zero?" And the guy said, "Well, yeah." And so that's what the whole basis of this whole movement is, to try to get this level playing field. So even though you can sell to Brazil at 40% tariff, wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better if you could double your business there, triple your business?
Oh, absolutely. But we also have tariffs on import of their ethanol made from cane. So at some point we lose track of tit for tat and who's punishing who and who started this.
Let's get rid of all the crap.
Indeed.
Let's get rid of the ethanol mandate too, as long as we're at it.
Well, no, it's the corn ethanol is inefficient, but oddly enough, there is an energy return on energy invested with cane ethanol, and that's when we have the tariff on.
Well, naturally. But why is there a mandate on that ethanol? Let the market decide. If it really is much more efficient, and if it really is better for the environment, let the market choose.
Oh, I told you I'm a free market capitalist.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side of protectionism are subsidies. And so, that's why we have the ethanol. We're subsidizing that industry.
Well, that's not subsidy either.
Oh, indeed.
Two peas in the pod on this one. Okay, so you went to Congress and you testified about NAFTA. What was the theme of the hearing that you spoke to?
Well, NAFTA's up for renegotiation, right? And there's a bunch of us that consider it to be at least a good start. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't want to throw it out, so this was my vote for NAFTA. It's not perfect, could be better, could be tweaked, but a total discard of NAFTA would be a bad plan. And that's what I went up there to support. It was an interesting process. I've never testified before, and I get the call and agreed to go up. And there ended up being 4 of us testifying.
Mm-hmm. Who else was there? Do you remember?
A fellow from the Council of the Americas, which is heavily involved in Latin American relations. And then it was kind of unfair. It was 3 people that were pro-NAFTA. Of course, I was one of them. And then the only person speaking against it was union, looking for protection.
The Washington two-step. We'll bring people in, but we know what they're going to say. Now, which committee was it? Do you remember the name of it?
It was an odd one. It was on trade and proliferation and terror. We didn't really hit on the terror or proliferation.
Yeah, the official name was the Terrorism, Non-Proliferation, and Trade Subcommittee on Foreign Affairs. Now, when you were at U of H, did you ever think that one day you'll be in front of the Terrorism, Non-Proliferation? But here's the good news. You were there for a positive reason. It wasn't for the McCarthy-type hearings.
Fortunately, they didn't ask me about nuclear proliferation.
Did you tell them about your plutonium in the garage in 1983?
It's just a rumor.
All right, now, how did you get the phone call? Where did it come from?
It's kind of interesting. There's a group of people that are in support of NAFTA, and a lot of them are Texans, because here in Texas, there's a lot of trade with Mexico. I have machines down there. So I would say Texas is probably more pro-NAFTA. That's an opinion. But so we're working with the Greater Houston Partnership, and they were looking for someone that does a lot of export to talk with, someone from Congress. And so we set all that up. We're actually going to have a meeting here, and then we had a little hurricane. I don't know if you heard about the hurricane last fall. And during that hurricane, that meeting was canceled. However, the word had gotten out that there's a group of us that were interested in this subject. Next thing I know, NPR came over, and we did an interview. That one went nationwide. And then I get a call from a representative, Ted Pope, and he is the chair of this committee that you've been describing. And he asked me to, his people asked me to come and testify.
Did you believe it when you got the phone call? You think it was one of your friends playing a crank on you?
No, it was credible.
That was credible. All right. Well, did you get nervous? Were you excited? What would it be?
Yeah, because it's easy to have opinions, and it's harder to have foundations for your opinions. Fortunately for me, I went back and did some research, because you actually have to submit written testimony, and you actually have to submit your verbal testimony also for vetting, quite a bit of vetting. And so I went back and did some research, and it was fascinating. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I still agree with myself.
So you haven't learned the Washington two-step too well quite yet. I tell people this a lot, is everyone has opinions, right? We all can talk about it on our couch, whatever the heck it might be. But it's when the microphone gets passed to you, and there's a room full of people, and the TV cameras are on, and they're focused on you, and now you have to stand up there and really give what you think. Even though you might have been preparing for this for years, you know the stuff backwards and forwards. But that one moment comes for the first time is obviously the hardest. Then you think, crap, do I really know what I'm talking about? And I mean, it's a totally natural thing. But good for you for being prepared and everything all put together, all the written papers.
It was an interesting experience. And it was almost enough to reinstill faith in government. I saw government at work, and it was working.
Mr. Smith goes to Washington. Now, did you have other outside help, like here in Houston, maybe different nonprofits, or like the GHP? Did anybody give you input about different angles to take or what to speak about?
Interestingly enough, that was offered, and I declined.
What did you tell NPR when you said no?
No, NPR.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, NPR was just an interview, but no, some of the business organizations were interested in supplying data. But like I said, I was testifying with my opinions.
That's right,
and that's why I did it my way.
Dan had a really good line during the testimony. I was watching on C-SPAN Live.
I'm honored.
And who would I be if I didn't, right? He said, all right, I'm going to quote him. "I don't fear competition. I relish the challenge. I can beat the competition, but I can't beat the tariff."
My, that's inspiring.
I thought I should have practiced that a few times, but it was a good line. It was really good, and I thought I saw some staffers in the back clapping at the end of that line there.
Well, that's exactly how I feel. I'm a competitive person, whether it's on foot, on bicycles, on motorcycles, or in cars. I like racing. I like competition, and business is just another outlet for that. And all my good engineers, they're competitive also. But it's not fun to compete if the playing field isn't level.
It's like when we go shooting together, I give Dan a head start.
Oh, is that what it is?
Actually, no, the opposite.
and so it's disheartening to play against an unfair advantage.
Yep.
And we can, and we do, and we still succeed in it. India that has high tariffs too. I have machines in India. We'll beat the tariffs, but not to the degree we could if, 40% is huge.
Yep.
Nobody makes 40%. So how in the world can you compete against somebody that has that 40% advantage? We manage to, but we do it with technology.
Now, which nation that you competed, that you actively competed, has the highest tariff?
I believe Brazil. Although I've read India's worse. You have to understand, I frequently don't see that. The customers ending up paying this. Just like when I've imported stuff, I run a broker, and if there's fees, then I pay them. And so I don't see them firsthand. I don't write the check. My customers write the check.
Do you frequently go to China? Do you often compete in there?
Oh, yeah. We've got machines all over China.
Are you worried about this escalating trade tensions?
Indeed, I am. But I also understand how Trump negotiates. He starts big, and then we don't really know where these negotiations are going to end. I think anybody that's making business decisions based upon the initial proposals is foolish. You need to wait until this plays out.
Go until it plays out. It's kind of like that Tesla stock. Again, the big question all day long is, do you buy today? Because yesterday trade was halted. Is today the day you buy, hoping you can get a quick premium on a privatization? And I would say that you're gambling. You're absolutely gambling. You can't make long-term plans. But with the tariff talk, a lot of people say we're trying to make a 5-year investment decision, whatever that might be, expansion or trying to make whatever it is. And they're saying we can't make any kind of decisions until this plays out. I say, big deal. Wait, makes sense?
All right. Today's decisions can be put off for a bit. It's not critical. It's interesting. I'm one of the companies that the Bureau of Labor Statistics surveys each month. And it was only in the last couple of months did I report price change where prices are going up. Why is it? Raw materials. So we've actually seen raw materials. What you see back here started out as a piece of steel, a box of wires, and a bunch of electronics.
It is beautiful if you can't see it very clearly. The thing is a piece of art up close.
And all this steel was cheaper. And we're seeing people raise prices, in my opinion, prematurely because they feel like they can. So I've been forced to. So we reported this to the Bureau of Labor Statistics 2 months ago.
Do you issue any commentary along with your reporting of statistics?
Not to be honest, Texas Manufacturing Statistics, they survey us also, and they'll allow me to put in a few comments.
Do they ever take these comments and share them more broadly?
Yes, they're sent to the press. It's kind of interesting.
Have you been quoted lately?
Fortunately, it's never attributed, but yes, the words get published. So, I flew all the way to D.C. to try to affect policy, right? That was on my nickel. And so I'm passionate about this. So this is another outlet for my views.
When you go to D.C., so you pay your own way.
Indeed.
You pay your own hotel as well?
Indeed.
My goodness. It doesn't sound like that much fun anymore. It sounded very glamorous at first, but now you don't have an expensive for that.
And that's unfortunate. The system, in my opinion, is broken. Fortunately, we're successful enough here that, and I'm able to leave and go do something like this. But once you're there and you see the system working, it is reassuring.
So did you just go in, testify, and then leave? Or do you go and meet with the individual staff members on a one-on-one or any of the congressmen on an individual basis?
No, it's a pretty simple matter. Showed up, and it's actually, we got the ready room, and it was interesting. Only myself and the union person was in the ready room. The other guys were late. And so it was, two halves of the argument. And so when they came in to take us in for the testimony, I said, "Oh, you can cancel this. We worked it out." But obviously we hadn't. But it was fascinating to get to hear that side of it. There's always two sides to a question, and I'm willing to listen. So went from the ready room, went to testify. Each of the four of us testified. They have little timers to keep you from running over, and it's pretty much reading your notes. And then they go through a series of questions, and then you're out of there.
And then you just go home. That's it. A little anticlimactic, isn't it?
You can either participate.
I guess I would want to have a little meet and greet, whatever it might be. Because the real policy is affected that one-on-one. It's not the testimony. I mean, how many people showed up?
No, the testimony was published. It was broadcast. You got to work within the system, you know. And I wasn't going there to get a trophy. I was going there to express an opinion.
I mean, the real policy change. That's what the real lobbying, if you will. And I don't mean that word as in, spend money. I don't mean that. But I mean that transferring of ideas and convincing someone about your policy position really is that personal, one-on-one, answering someone's direct questions. It's not really, policies aren't made in big meetings. That's really what I mean by that.
Maybe you're right, but each of us can only do what.
Only do so much.
What they're capable
I
of.
get you. All right. China. Do you think we're winning the trade war we see right now? Not a trade war. The tempers are flaring, not really flaring. What's the right word here?
I don't know.
The words are getting.
We all benefit from inexpensive products from China. We all benefit from their lower labor rates. So that creates a trade deficit. Fortunately for us, we're the reserve currency for the world. And as long as we are, we can get cars in return for green paper. So being the reserve currency of the world, you're doomed to run trade deficits.
I would say just look at the stock index, the Shanghai Composite. It's down, I think, 30% on the year, just YTD. And we're up about, I think, 0.5%. So we're basically even. We're doing well. The economy grew at 4%. And China is contracting strongly. I think that their leverage is greatly weakening. And now I think it's going to come to a nice resolution. It'll be more fair. I don't want to say we're winning. I just want to say, I think you might agree, just a nice fair deal. Let's lower everything to zero.
I'm all in.
Let's
that would
stop
work
stealing
out fine.
the IP.
Well, I've got machines in China now. They're not copied. You can copy the steel, but you can't copy my software.
Why are you so confident they can't steal the IP?
Can't get the software out. Trust me. This is what we do.
I admire your confidence. I pray that you are correct. I'm just very skeptical about the reverse engineering, what they can accomplish there, and the theft of IP.
They could copy it, they could do it, but they got to write more code. And this is a free market system. If it's cheaper for me to write the code and sell them the machine, then they'll do that. And that seems to be the case. The very first machine I put in there was 15 years ago, and this same company is still buying machines from me. They must not be copying them.
Good. I'm happy.
It's working.
It's working. Okay.
If you build a better mousetrap, they'll be the path to your door.
And that's why we're here. Awesome stuff. All right. So there are many people in America who are very upset about the impending and the current tariffs, and small businesses around America are saying we're being squeezed at the moment because of steel tariffs and the like. I read about the paper every day. Some people see a blue wave coming in November because of these tariffs. So do you think our politicians can negotiate without the leverage, without the fear of restricting the other side's economy, without everything happening? Is it fair to give them this leeway before us all crying foul at the very beginning?
It's a complex question. You understand, I want everybody to have a job. You think there has to be winners and losers. Personally, I think we can all be winners.
That's right.
And we can have more transistors, more clothes in our closet, more food on our plate. And it comes from efficiency. It comes from a free market economy. I don't have to have someone lose for me to win.
It's not zero sum. It's win-win if we can get to that 0%, or something of that generic nature where it's free and open and not tariffed. I think government is usually the last answer.
Indeed, central planning has been proven to be a bad solution.
Ironically, this machine behind us is heading to Venezuela as we say that.
It has been delayed.
Insert many Venezuela jokes into here.
Mhm.
I can't even make fun of it. I feel bad for all those people who are caught up in the disaster.
I do too, but you know, the only thing I can do is give them an opportunity to make a living. There's only 3 segments of our economy that create wealth: agriculture, mining, and manufacturing. I'm proud to be part of an economy that creates wealth. Everything else just redistributes it.
Any kind of retail or new kind of software, any kind of IP, healthcare that doesn't create wealth. If someone made the cancer drug, the great blockbuster cancer drug, is that not creating wealth?
Not by the definitions that I've read.
What? Please.
You have to
I'm
create
fascinated.
wealth. To create wealth, you have to create something. You know, and somebody has to do this. If you
Isn't
want
it a pill? Isn't that something?
the definition
I stopped him.
of creating wealth is manufacturing, agriculture, and mining.
What year is that from?
One of my favorite books is by Kevin Phillips, I think. It's called Bad Money. And he goes through the natural progression of economies. And he uses examples all the way back, you know, to Netherlands, Spain, and everybody starts agriculture. And then they grow to mining, and then they go to manufacturing, and then finally to financial services. Guess what the next step is? Why, that would be ruin. And that's exactly what happened to the U.S. When I came out of school, 1990, our economy was 28% manufacturing, gross domestic product, 28% manufacturing, 10% financial services. By 2008, that had flipped. You see where that got us? And Phillips' thesis is all these economies that failed due to excessive reliance on financial systems rather than the three components that create wealth, all of them recovered through, you guessed it, manufacturing.
Which my first thought is, I think the Netherlands are over 80% financial services for their economy.
Now,
Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen this for years. My first thought is, but I think they're doing all right. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Sorry if there's someone.
I'm going to get you a copy of this book, and we'll see if you disagree.
When you said your favorite book, I really was hoping you were going to say my book.
Sorry.
Maybe I'll get you another autographed copy. Well, not so much.
I just like being part of creating wealth, creating a better future for people. You know, I'm just a machine builder, but I think that if everyone had a job, I think we'd have world peace.
I think you have a good point about that. I mean, you look at Iran right now, there are protests, and God bless these people. They know they get arrested, they go to a torture camp and then executed maybe for protesting and striking in the street. And they're out there by the hundreds and some by the thousands because it's undoable, right? What's happened in Iran? First, it was the truckers who were striking, and now more people have joined in because there's just, you can't survive. You could work X number of hours a week, but you're still falling behind. Each hour you work, you're getting marginally further behind. And Venezuela is basically the same. I had a point. I forgot what I was getting at. I was trying to see if we had some questions that come up.
We've got a comment about Iran. You know,
Please.
You know, we were trying to improve relations with Iran a few years ago, right? And opening up trade. I believe some airliners were sold to Iran. Hey, I'm all in. I build oil field equipment. These guys have oil. And so we contacted the government to see if we could export this stuff. No. Airplanes, yes.
I'm looking at this comment here from Dr. Attorney, I love saying that, John Spires. This thing is so hard, by the way. The Wi-Fi keeps going out. So each time the Wi-Fi goes out. So he's basically, John, he's saying central planning cannot respond to the nuances market pricing provides. The relative scarcity. I think we're on the same page.
I think it's unanimous here.
Yes, it cannot promote market efficiency, which is a long-winded way of saying it just doesn't work.
Indeed.
Because I like John so much, I had to read that. Yeah, we're all on the same page here. We have a little time. What else do you want to talk about?
I'll give you an example of my experience with communist countries or recently reformed communist countries. I work all over the world. And rather than malign anyone, I'll tell you the story. So I was putting in a machine in one of these countries, and I was very frustrated. And so I was working through an interpreter, and I said, I am the only one in this room that's not afraid to make a mistake. And my interpreter said, you must have translated. I said, translate. She translates. Everybody stares at their feet. No comments. Next day, they digest it. They come back in. They say, you're exactly right. Under communism, if you never did anything, you never made a mistake, you're never punished. I said, well, welcome to capitalism. You're going to starve to death. Since then, one of these fellows has written his thesis on this machine. One's become a manager, and they have embraced technology, and they are now competitive on a world level.
Good for them.
I'm proud of them. Hey, but they had to relearn their whole philosophy, because under communism, what is encouraged here is discouraged there.
That's right.
And that's counterproductive. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of a free market.
Well, so you're speaking to the choir. If you have questions, things you want to speak to Dan about, send it in right now as we start concluding. What part of the world was that, without being specific?
It was Russia.
Okay, well, that was pretty specific. I would have settled with Europe or Eastern Europe. Do you still go to to Russia very often today?
Not lately. Their economy's down, and automation costs a lot of money.
Even at $80 a barrel, that's not enough money for Russia.
Yeah, but it's getting better.
More efficiency?
Well, I'm just saying there's just a general recovery in the oil patch. Takes a little longer for it to leak down into an environment that's been more depressed than ours. But no, I expect to see some more sales over there. I'm all in. Once again, I believe everybody should have a job and a way to make a living for their family.
Now, do you run the company? Do you have satellite offices globally? Do you have salespeople or channel partners or something of that nature?
Not enough. We should, but Brazil, we have good support. But Europe, no, not so much. The good news is the world has been not only electrified, but is now internet connected. We had a machine go down in Saudi yesterday, and our guys went online and were able to debug it through the internet. So
that's efficient.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper and a lot quicker than an airplane ticket. Everybody's happy. And so that allows us to support everything from right here. Don't get me wrong, we all have passports, we all fly, but modern technology, it's an advancement, allows us to compete in a global market.
That reminds me of a story about Saudi. I have a friend, he's a psychiatrist. It's kind of psychiatrist to the stars, if you will. And a few odd years ago, probably 20 years ago now, he had a client in Saudi, and the client needed him ASAP. So he's here in Houston, he called him up, and he flew from Houston to JFK. JFK, he took the Concorde to Heathrow, and then from Heathrow, he boarded the private jet from Heathrow to Riyadh, or whatever city it is in Saudi. And then he met with his client, his patient, for about 3 hours, and then he got back on the private jet, flew back to Heathrow, took the Concorde back to JFK, and JFK back to Houston. And so if he could have done this, right? Even just a Skype or whatever it might have been, that would have saved him. I mean, what is that? 30 hours, I'm guessing. Round trip?
A lot of plane fuel.
Yeah.
A lot of issues.
Tens of thousands of dollars beyond just the cost, but just the time. But at least he had a story to tell. All right. Anything else we want to talk about, Dan? I'm waiting for some questions. Come on, people. Give me a question. We have a number of people watching.
We must have been thorough.
Yeah, we must have really covered everything. Predictions. Give me your predictions coming up. When will the resolution come to trade with China?
Never.
Never?
It's an ongoing process.
There won't be a comprehensive agreement?
Yes, but it won't be the final one.
Nothing's final, but a substantial and significant comprehensive agreement.
I saw a lot of movement this week I think the pressure's working, and that's how Trump negotiates, and I understand that.
Go leverage.
Yeah, I would hate to negotiate against him. So I would say before the end of the year, we'll have something. And I'm surprised we don't have something on NAFTA, but I suppose the reality is as long as NAFTA's in place, we do have something.
My guess is December, China will come to the table and make it comprehensive because they're waiting until November election results.
Blue wave, red wave.
There won't be any kind of blue wave in the Senate for sure. I bet the Republicans pick up seats, and I'm very confident the Republicans hold on to the House. They might lose some of the majority, but they still have the majority. That's what matters. China seizes the chips on the table. They see that they're going to have a more difficult Congress in January to make a deal in December and try to salvage part of the fourth quarter for their major season. They're a fourth quarter country, right? They need that. So that's my big prediction. Next one, red wave or blue wave? What do you see?
I'm going to remain, from my position, guardedly optimistic, and I think we'll hold the House and the Senate.
Any more seats? Plus, minus? Anything?
No, I'm just, the reality is now it's just the majority. It's regrettable, but it's so polarized now that it's just a red-blue issue.
Leslie asked you here, your opinion on Trump's hardball tactics with his demand for free trade and fair trade. You don't want to negotiate against him.
No, but and he's a mean, he's a mean competitor. He's tough, and maybe that's what it takes in the global economy. If you go back to when Bernie was running for president, Bernie had an interesting comment. He says, if you ask for a whole loaf, you'll get a half a loaf. If you ask for half a loaf, you get the crumbs. And I thought, wow, him and the Donald are very similar. And so right now, Donald is asking for a whole loaf. He's playing hardball.
That's one of the very few things that they have in common.
But it's interesting that they do have that in common.
Well, I'd say it's pretty basic, right? I mean, even my 4-year-old knows that. He goes, Dad, I want to watch 3 movies, and I want a pizza, and I want a giant thing of ice cream. So I'd say, how about 1 movie, 2 slices of pizza, and 1 scoop of ice cream?
You're saying
same thing.
The preceding 8 years, we had a guy playing hardball? Is that what you're trying to tell me? I thought you said everybody knows this.
I mean, it's too painful to go down that route. It's, I was talking to my dad the other day. I said, who created more damage to America, Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama? What do you think? I mean, 4 years versus 8 years, speed of the economy. I mean, I would say it's Obama. It's a very long pause.
Here's good news. America's resilient. And the one good thing about gridlock in Washington, you inadvertently create a laissez-faire environment. That's kind of good. So it makes the country more resilient. And so no matter who's driving, we'll get through it.
We'll get through it. All right. Any last thoughts? Plugs? Any plugs? Speaking engagements, TV appearances? What do you have coming up?
Life is good. Business is good. Business is cyclical. I've been in the oil field for a long time, so I wasn't surprised that there'd be a downturn. What I was surprised at was how abrupt the upturn was, and so that's encouraging to me.
Well, plugs you have coming up, places you'll be, interviews, NPR calling again.
I don't know if this crowd's going to attend the International Machine Tool Show, but we will.
There you go. That's what I want. Give it up.
The International Machine Tool Show is coming up in Chicago. We'll be displaying there.
When is that?
October, and then we'll be in Atlanta at the FabTech Show.
October what?
I don't do the shows. Sorry.
Easy now. Where are you going to be? You have more media coming up? I know you do.
We've got some. We got some people that are playing with some of this YouTube stuff. It's interesting, the whole social media thing. I'm a bit old for this.
What's the YouTube show called?
The one they filmed yesterday right here was 4 welding processes you've never heard of. Because we do some interesting things here, so we'll see how that goes.
That show makes a fortune on YouTube.
That's what they're hoping.
I don't know how, but they do. Good for them. Good for them. Okay, October, I will be at Michigan, Ann Arbor. They invited me back again. I'll be speaking on campus. All right, August 21st, Rick Walker. Remember Rick Walker? Do you know Rick?
Jog my memory.
Rick and I were competitors for Congress.
Oh, okay.
He's my, this is just north of us in Kingwood.
I see.
Good guy. He will be here. We'll talk all things politics. We'll talk about the campaigns. We'll talk about our friend, I guess, Dan Crenshaw too, right? And let's see, anything else? Anything else? Oh, Dan is a regular at NPR. He goes there and, can I say that or is that not true?
No, yeah, once
He's a
again,
regular.
well, you need to break down these walls. We need to have more
That's right.
communication, and so
Put it out there.
And so I'm happy to talk to NPR. They interviewed me on a number of different subjects from business to firearms, and I believe that we need some more communication. America has become much too polarized. I remember 20 years ago, I watched how this was occurring in Spain, and I thought, what a miserable way.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. So we need to break down these walls.
That's
You need
right.
to get out of your silo.
That's
You need
right.
to get out of your echo chamber and talk to other people.
That's absolutely right. I agree 100%. Good stuff. All right, last question. Who's a better clay shooter?
We haven't gone head-to-head on play, so that remains to be seen.
We'll table that one for later. We're both sweaty. All right, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.